Okay, and it looks like we are rolling. Okay, so before I get into the main point of this video, I want to address two things right off the bat. One, I know my bangs are always falling in front of my face, and I know it's looks awful. And the other thing is, I know that this disgusting neck beard also looks horrendous. So I understand that I might get some shit for that in the comments. I understand. I know it looks terrible. I'm gonna shave this, and well, this is just what it is when I get out of the shower, and if I don't style it and anything, this is how it is. I can do this, but it won't stay like that forever. Anyway, I want to go ahead and also, before we get into the main meat and potatoes of the video again, I want to just kind of give a brief. See if I can fix this angle. Nah, apparently not. Oh yeah, that's actually a lot better. Oh yeah, that's way better. I want to get into like a brief overview of what I'm going to be talking about in this video. As the title would suggest, I'm going to be talking about my experience, my admiration, inspiration, and personal friendship with a content creator who passed away a few years ago, named Emmer Prevost. Who before that he was known as Helsing 920. Um, if that interests you, or if that doesn't interest you, then you just want to click away from this video right now, because that's mainly what I'm going to be talking about. If that does interest you, if you are a fan of Emmer and you just want to hear, anyone else have anything to say about him, then, I definitely recommend you stick around, because there's a lot I want to go over. This video is going to be completely unscripted. Originally, I was going to write a script with some guidelines for talking points, but in the spirit of keeping this as like raw and genuine as possible, I don't really want to do that. Just because I feel like it'll be more real and genuine, which is something that anyone who watched Emmer knows was one of his best qualities, was the fact that he had a tendency to be raw and brutal, but he was so honest about everything, and you knew that whenever you watched anything that he did, anything that he said wasn't going to be bullshit. It wasn't going to be bought and paid for by some fucking company. Anything he said wasn't going to be colored by nonsense. It was going to be what he really felt, and that was such a great quality. And you don't really see that a lot anymore, especially in the. Anyway, I'm getting way ahead of myself. Point is, I'm going to be talking about that, and it's not going to be scripted, but I might edit out certain things and cobble it together just to make the video more presentable, if I have to. So where to begin? I originally discovered Emmer in pretty much the most unfortunate possible way that I could have discovered him, which was through YouTube poops that I watched when I was like 11 or 12 years old. Maybe, yeah, I'd say like 11, 12 years old. Is when I discovered him, watching like really, really shitty YouTube poops that used him. Because when you're that young, you find YouTube poops to be hilarious. But I would always see him pop up in there, and he always had his long box that he would use, and sometimes he would use it as like a shield, sometimes he would use it to like fly around on, sometimes he'd use it as like a weapon. But I always just thought that was the funniest shit. So eventually I was like, man, who is this Helsing 920? So I looked him up, and I discovered that he did these videos called Epic Rants, and those were the first real videos from him that I ever actually watched. Before that, he was doing the long box videos where he talked about comic books and stuff like that. I never saw those videos. Those were before my time. I don't even know if there's archives of those videos. He made a later Long Box Chronicles series. He kind of like rebooted it, and I saw those, but I never saw the original Long Box videos. I think those are lost to time because not even the Helsing archives has those. But yeah, so I started with the Epic Rants, which were where he basically just talked about. It was exactly what it sounded like. He just ranted about bullshit. And at the time, being as young as I was and impressionable as I was, a lot of those opinions were things that I had resonated with, because they were things that kind of went against the grain, uh, and even at a young age, not to sound like an edgy fuck or an edgy little shitlord, but there was a lot of things that I didn't particularly care for when I was younger that a lot of people did, and Emmer's views in these epic rants kind of reflected that, and so I found solace in them. So I watched them, and I gotta admit, looking back at them, some of them do not fucking hold up. They do not. Some of them do, some of them don't. An example of one that does not hold up is he made one about cell phones, which is not cell phones, but about texting in particular, where he's talking about like how stupid it is that you're gonna type out a long, a sentence or something like that on a numerical keypad, and anybody who had a cell phone these days, it's crazy to think about. A lot of people might not know about how it used to be, but when cell phones first came out, and for quite a while, you would have to type out a text message on a numerical keypad. It wasn't like today where you just pick up the phone, boop 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 boop, type the message, send it. It's quick and easy. Back then, it was 3 letters or characters when you got to the end per number, and you would have to go boop boop boop, wait, or press right on the keypad and go boop 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 boop. It was a slow and arduous process, and it was stupid, and so many people did it. And to this day, I don't know why so many people were so insistent on texting back then. It was just such an arduous process. And he said that in the video. He was like, oh, why not just pick up the phone and fucking call him. And just seeing that when I was that young, I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I thought. Again, that doesn't hold up at all today because texting is super easy these days with like touchscreen phones. A video that did hold up was his epic rant about movie theaters and how they can be a really shitty experience because tickets are fucking overpriced, concessions are fucking overpriced. People can be jackasses and they can fucking be loud and irritating, bring their fucking kids, have their fucking cell phones on, and bring like, and they can be talking about the movie and spoiling it when they're coming out of the theater. Like he basically ranted about shit like that. And that's still true to well, not to this day because, at least in my state, New York, movie theaters aren't open because of COVID, but that's neither here nor there, barring COVID. Theater going experience can be super hit and miss just due to that. So yeah, there was just a lot of things that I really resonated with, and this just led me into continuing to see him as sort of like a role model. And a lot of the cues that I took was shit that I saw from his videos. And I always just really liked that. And one thing that I learned was he had a video series where the Fanboy Chronicles, where he would basically talk about, this is something I'm always going to be so thankful for. He had a series called the Fanboy Chronicles where he basically would detail a lot of the really cringy, stupid shit that people who get overly obsessed with like game franchises and movie franchises would do. And he would point out, I'd be like, the ridiculous behavior. And he would make sure to point out that some of these franchises were things that he enjoyed and was a part of, but even though you can be a part of these fan bases and these fan groups, you don't have to act like that. And I always just was like, when I was younger, of course I was a fan of a lot of different things like Sonic the Hedgehog, Pokemon, like all these game franchises and stuff in particular, and even a couple anime franchises. And it's really easy to get swept up in the community and become kind of a cringy edgelord and be act like an idiot, make a fool of yourself. And to this day, you see shit like that. It's a lot more common to see people call that out, like especially with the Rick and Morty fan base and the Undertale fan base, and a more long ago example would have been the Homestuck fan base was really fucking bad. But you see that called out more prominently. But basically what I'm trying to say here is seeing that series of videos and seeing how those people behaved allowed me to kind of use it as a measuring stick for my own behavior and be like, I can't act like these people. And it allowed me to behave better as a person. So I had a lot to look up to, and I had a lot to be thankful for. then eventually that led into his core series, which he became famous. Well, maybe not famous, but really well known for, which was his reaction and reviews, which started because I can't remember exactly, but I think it was like he lost a bet with a friend or something, and he ended up, because he lost that bet, he had to review the movie Kick-Assia, which was something that Doug Walker made, which, you know, is an instant cry for sympathy, because anything Doug Walker produces is fucking trash. I'm not gonna get into that, but I do not like Doug Walker. I used to like a lot of his movie reviews. You know, his Nostalgia Critic reviews used to be really good. Back when it was him just being goofy and silly and you know, extremely hyperbolic. But after he started doing like skits and bringing in fucking actors and that just went to trash. And nowadays he's just not funny at all. He doesn't have a funny bone in his body. But again, not getting into that. So he reviewed the movie. It was really bad, but a lot of people really got a kick out of the way he did the review. So he ended up getting requests to do more movies, and he did. He did, you know, more movies and more movies and more movies, and eventually it just kind of escalated into an entire series, a very long and developed series, which had hundreds of episodes. And there's very few reaction and review videos that he did that I would consider like bad, because in each one it allowed him, the format allowed him to give the most raw, unfiltered opinion possible, you know, fresh out of the gate, immediately after seeing the movie. You know, that's the reaction portion, and then, you know, he'd give himself time to ruminate on it and think on it, and then you'd give a more in-depth review of what he thought of the film proper. And it was just such a great format, and I don't think there's really anyone else on YouTube, at least that I've seen, that has content that's even remotely close to that. You know, and I'd say, you know, maybe a quarter way to halfway through his, you know, his tenure on YouTube doing the reaction review movies, he made a Facebook account where he invited, you know, his fans to go and follow him. And, you know, I did that. I followed him on Facebook. One day he made a post on Facebook where he was like, oh, you know, I'm on Steam. I'm going to be playing Left 4 Dead 2. If any of you guys, you know, would be interested in doing that, you know, hit me up. You know, we can do that. And I was like, nah, no way. He's not really offering to, you know, just play games with his fans, is he? That's exactly what he did, though. And I remember I joined in, and it was that simple. What was crazy is that he was going to originally record and upload a lot of that gameplay from Left 4 Dead 2, which was the game we all ended up playing, but it didn't quite work. And so I messaged him and I said, hey, if your shit's not working, I can actually record the footage for you. And he agreed. And that's actually what you can see on his YouTube channel to this day, is the footage that I recorded from the various games of Left 4 Dead 2 we played. And from then on, we ended up becoming friends because we had a lot of fun. I ended up becoming friends with another guy because my roommate dropped something in the bathroom. But anyway, yeah, I ended up becoming friends with a couple other people because of that. And there was a lot of like Google Hangouts that he did back when Google Hangouts were actually a thing that people did. We did Google Hangouts, played Cards Against Humanity and stuff like that. So I mean, it was a lot of different stuff. And they say, you know, never meet your heroes, because a lot of times you can end up being really disappointed. But I was never disappointed, and he ended up becoming a good friend and somebody that I looked up to. He was like, basically, I viewed him as like an uncle. And I continued watching his videos, supporting him. I sent him a couple movies off of like the Amazon wish list, you know, because he had that whole system where you could like, he put a movie on the wish list, you bought it. What's really funny though is that every movie I ever sent him on the Amazon wish list, he ended up not liking. He's like, man, these movies suck ass. But then he would always be like, oh, well, you know, I wouldn't have known that if it weren't for, you know, you sending the movie in, so thank you. And he would always be very gracious about it. But I just found it kind of funny in a twisted sort of way that he hated all the shit that I sent him. But and that's actually kind of leads me into another thing, is I didn't always agree with a lot of his reviews and a lot of the opinions that he held on a lot of things. I felt like the one thing that I will never understand is he always professed that he hated Batman the Dark Knight. Like, he always said, "Oh, I fucking hate Batman the Dark Knight. It was a shit movie. It was terrible. The acting was bad." I never got that. I never understood why. I loved Batman the Dark Knight. I thought the acting was great, you know. I thought Ledger's performance as a Joker was one of the best I'd seen. And he would compare it. I remember at one point he even compared it to Cesar Romero's Joker. I was like, in my mind, I was like, "What? How the fuck are you gonna compare Ledger's Joker to Romero's Joker? They're very, very different types of portrayals. You know, Ledger's, of course, being the really dark, serious, you know, edgy Joker, with Romero's being the really goofy, zany, silly Joker from the Adam West Batman." I was like, "How are you gonna do that?" So I didn't always agree with the man, but a lot of times I did. And regardless of whether I agreed with him or not, I respected him. So, yeah, again, this is just me remembering all of that, talking about it, you know, my experience. But that leads me into the next portion of this video that I wanted to discuss is, I mentioned earlier that I don't think that I've seen reaction and review type content, but nothing that was ever as in depth as what Emmer did, where he broke down. He would do the reaction segment, he'd talk about things in the reaction segment, but in the review segment he'd talk about everything from like the acting, the writing, the cinematography, the special effects, even certain things. Like, he'd go into specifics, like when he talked about the Puppet Master series, he talked about things like the Dutch angles that were used while filming. So he would talk about filming techniques. He had such an extensive knowledge of the actors, the actresses, and he was able to be really honest about their performances, like when they were really bad and shit. And he had just a sense of humor that I don't think I've seen paralleled. So I guess what I'm saying is, I went a long period of time where I couldn't watch his videos after he passed away, because it hurt too much to go back and to even try to watch them. You know, hear, "Hey guys, what's up? It's Helsing 920. I would get that far, and then just I'd have to shut the video off. I couldn't. I just couldn't. And recently, I was able to kind of get over that, and I was watching quite a few of his reviews. And one thing I learned again is how fucking well those videos hold up. But it inspired me to do something else, and that is, I want to try, and probably fail, but I want to try to recapture the essence, if I can, of what made those videos good by doing my own style of those videos. Where, because I realized lately that, you know, I've got a lot more free time now, because I was recently just let go from my job, which I've since got a new job. I got a job. I'll be working from home. So that's great. You know, I'm really glad to have that opportunity. I'll basically be doing, you know, work from home, technical support. So, but right now I'm in kind of just like in an intermission period between those two jobs. I'm just waiting for basically to get my schedule set up. But the point is, I got a lot more free time, so I realized that there's movies that I've always really wanted to see and just never got around to doing. And I'm going to try to film reaction and reviews of my own in a similar style to kind of attempt to recapture that essence. They might be terrible, so I'm definitely going to need, if anyone ever sees them, audience feedback. But I would need feedback to kind of tell me if I'm even in the same neighborhood, which again I probably wouldn't be, but I want to do him the honor of at least trying. And maybe that's not what he would have wanted. I can't profess to know what he would have wanted, you know, some stupid shithead with an ugly beard and hair that constantly falls in his face to fucking try to copy his format. Maybe he'd look at that and be like, no, don't do that. But I don't know, I just kind of get the feeling that it's something I should try to do. And maybe it won't work out. And if that's the case, I'll delete all the videos. I've done that in the past, make a lot of videos that I think suck and I'm not proud of them, and then I just fucking delete them all. That's nothing new for me. But I'll keep this one up. If for no other reason than if there's anybody else who sees this, who finds some kind of solace, or who cared about Emmer as much as I did, and who thought as much of Emmer as I did, I want to let you guys know you are not the only ones. And you're not alone. I cared about him a lot. He was a good man. And we'll see what I can do. You know, we'll see. But anyway, you can talk to me. You can post a comment. I'll have my Discord. My Discord is always in the comments. Or not the comments, sorry, in the description of my videos. So if you ever want to reach out to me, and if there's anything in particular you want to talk about, my DMs are always open. I've always been a very open DMs kind of person. Whatever you want to talk about, I'll be here. So yeah, that's it. If you stuck around for this whole thing, thank you for watching, and rest in peace, Emmer. You are an inspiration to a lot of people.